Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in, really appreciate it. Shout out to all the subs, gratitude to anybody new, welcome along. This video we're going to be talking about Vergil Ortiz versus Israil Madrimov. What a fight that is. We're going to be delving into the types of power that they have, the types of training they do from a scientific aspect as well. We're going to be comparing the two, and I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about where the training comes from and how it affects their power. We're also going to be talking about Dubois versus Dubois Parker. Another really good fight. There's too many good fights to cover. There's too many videos going on right now with all the press going on. You know, it's just unbelievable. There's obviously a massive card this Saturday, but this card and this fight and this video is going to be about what is the difference.
What's the difference between me and you?
Good right to set that up. Vergil has him hurt. Trying to get it back.
What's the difference between me and you?
Oh, there's luck. Tags him with a right.
I smash the critics like an overhand right. Overhand right.
What's the difference between me and you?
Boxing.
Alright, thanks for joining me guys. Let's start off with Israil Madrimov, okay? I'm going to be bringing little clips from, this channel that I found that this gentleman's called Power Training YouTube video, where he really goes in deep on scientific aspects about power, strength, speed, conditioning, all that. So I'll be bringing, snippets in because, I've been watching so many videos lately, I've just lost track of all the information. But essentially, Israil Madrimov, his style is heavily based off of plyometrics, right? Now, what are plyometrics?
It is one of the most researched power development methods that will make you sprint faster, jump higher, throw further, and punch harder, among other things. It's one of the most popular power development interventions for athletes.
Essentially, it was actually created by a Russian, I forgot his name, I'll leave it on the screen.
Now, the pioneer of plyometrics was the Russian Yuri Vergil.
But it was a very, a pioneer to introduce that style of training, and it still exists today, especially in Eastern Europe. It's like basically strengthening your muscles and making them elastic. And as I said, I'll bring in clips to show you exactly what it is. But the pogo jumps that the Uzbek team do, okay, that's like a lighter version of plyometrics. Essentially, this guy was saying to get the real strength out of them, you have to do heavy bouncing.
For example, in a jump, the moment your feet touch the ground and the eccentric portion is finished, the amortization phase has begun. This duration must be kept very short, and you must jump immediately to utilize this elastic energy that you have now built up.
Right, and like sprinters and running, they all have that same plyometrics essence. Long jumpers and shot putters and stuff like that, and it's just basically you're reinforcing the elasticity in your legs, essentially, right, to give you that power and that spring. Now, ironically, Madrimov has a very in and out style, okay? So like he's powerful, but he's strong. And if you look at his upper body, he was a former gymnast. And if you look how high this guy can jump, oh my gosh, that's called ups, right? He's got major ups where I'll show you a picture that I found, or a clip. I did it in the last video against Bud, and I couldn't believe it, but that is heavily from plyometrics, right? And, the Uzbeks, they drill this so hard, so they have the speedy, almost explosive footwork like that for his attacks, which ironically, because he's not doing, this is just my opinion as well, because they're not doing the full force of plyometrics like this channel was saying, it still lends itself to more speed rather than actual raw power. Because he is powerful, but he's not like one of the most explosive punchers you've seen. And I think, we'll get onto Vergil Ortiz, who absolutely is. And, a lot of that's down to genetics and DNA and bone density and, muscle coordination, which I'll talk about in a minute. But back to Madrimov, their style is so heavily dependent on that. And they drill that from a very young age, right, religiously. In Eastern Europe, Uzbek style is a very Eastern Europe Soviet style, but it's far more aggressive. The Eastern European style is fascinating, but they're very reliant on discipline, hit and not get hit, and use the ring intelligently, like discipline. I think I said that, but the Uzbek style is more front foot counter attacking with that pendulum step, which is fascinating. And against Bud, You know, he gave Bud one hell of a fight. You know, I still can't figure out why Turkey Al Sheikh has that video up on his YouTube page, but only 7 rounds are on there. So I still haven't seen the full fight after the first time I watched it, where I thought Bud might have won it by a round. I thought it was an extremely close fight, but I'd need to watch it again to really score it properly. But if you look how hard Bud was working in that fight, I mean, he was concentrating so hard. That was definitely one of his most toughest mental fights, I'd say. And Madrimov fought an incredibly patient fight, very, very tactically astute and disciplined, and just, as I said, patient, and you know, fought Bud tooth and nail, I thought. But, you know, hopefully they'll put the full fight up one day, because, you know, it's weird, they've only got 7 rounds on there. But anyway, look, Madrimov, he's hungry. He's a really, really, really good fighter. Obviously, former world champion, looking to get back up to the top. And, you know, look, it's a great fight. It's a 50-50 fight, really. This is probably a real 50-50. I know there are a few other 50-50s on that whole card, really. It's like 50-50s everywhere. But over to Vergil Ortiz. If you look at his, like, how relaxed he is, and I know Madrimov is extremely relaxed, but Ortiz's muscles, his arms are a little thinner, right, which lends it to more like leverage and fluidity. Typically, you know, he's just like a natural, bona fide, raw, pure puncher.
Wow, big uppercut from Ortiz.
And, you know, some people were criticizing how he didn't knock out Boachok, but Boachok is one of the fittest guys in boxing. Vergil Ortiz said that. He said this guy is the fittest guy he's ever seen. And where I'm going with that is, I know people will say, well, Brandon Adams knocked out Boachok.
Corner you, and let's talk about this. Boachuk hadn't been past 6.
Counter left hand there by Adams. Good hook. He's going for it.
Here he comes.
He's going for it. Cannot. Oh! Left hand drops Boachuk.
Yeah, he did. But if you look at Boachok's mentality since then, right? If you follow it, like he trains so hard. And, you know, it is boxing. People can have blips, and you can certainly get touched, and he kind of got finished off quickly. He got caught with a shot he didn't see, and it's boxing. But since then, because he's been training so hard, his conditioning, I think, and his self-belief and his mental fortitude has you know, given him that know that you can take a punch. I know Andre Ward's talked about this loads of times, about mentally being prepared. And
I think one thing that my dad and Verge did really well for me and my brother, Jonathan, who boxed with me for many years. They gave us mental reps. Like I'd be driving in the car or riding in the car with Verge or my dad, and they'd be telling me, listen, man, when you get in that ring, when you spar today, man, listen, that dude try to hit you low. You make sure you get your respect. You don't accept this in the ring. Like, these are things that I was taught. I was taught to be a warrior at a young age.
Being, you know, in the right frame of mind to tough it out and take punches and stuff like that, your conditioning. And if you're an ultra fit, you're not only going to believe in yourself massively, you're going to have a better chin. Now, that reminds me of James Kirkland. You remember him when he was tearing through the division, right? And then he was with Ann Wolfe, the training, there was like, I don't know if you know about this, but the legendary training sessions or fighting sessions James Kirkland used to have.
It's really unbelievable, man. Every day is a hard day in the gym. As far as your body being prepared for battle and really be able to get out there and do your thing, she's going to beat your body down. She's going to tear it to nothing, and then she's going to rebuild it back up, and you're going to feel so strong.
Were just, I mean, there's no way you could sustain that. He was such an animal. And then when he left Ann Wolfe, he got put into a fight with a light punching Japanese guy, Shida, I think his name was. And he got dropped 3 times and stopped in the first round.
He can take 3 rounds to deal with 2 opponents, and now he gets caught on a quick counter right inside, who looks utterly fearless, and that isn't the profile that most Kirkland opponents portray. Down goes Kirkland a second time.
Kirkland is a sitting duck for Ishida's right hand. There it is again.
This is someone, and he's been down once before, James Kirkland, but it was kind of a flash knockdown. He was definitely hurt, but my point is, when you take the training out of it and you take the mental aspect out of it, your chin can be touched up a lot harder. And that's why I'm saying maybe Ortiz, you know, wasn't able to get to Boachok. The thing with Ortiz is, he gets too stuck into his power, right? He puts too much into it, I think. You know, I think with this fight with Madrimov, I think he's got to use his skills a bit more. box a bit more and not try to load up and try to take his head off with every single punch, because he put so much energy into that. I think he would have learned a tremendous amount from the Boachuk fight. That was a tough fight for him. It really was. You could see he was really tired, but he's a warrior. He's a real warrior. They're both warriors. It's going to be a great fight. This might be one of the best on the card, to be honest with you. But I think Madrimov, given that he's so smart and so, patient as well, and fought such a tremendous good fight against Bud, I don't think it's going to be a tear up like that. I think Ortiz will have to use his skills a little bit more and bide his time. And, Madrimov is a hard guy to hit and nail because he's so in and out. He's got these shifts and, step pivots, and his footwork is tremendous.
Their movement's still good, but not punching as often or as hard as he was some of those overhand rights from the outside have been massive.
Uzbek fighters' footwork is... I made a documentary about the Uzbek fighters, and their footwork is a massive, massive, massive part of their drilling every day, it seems. And, you can tell. And their movement as well is very fluid, and all of that together, he's a hard guy to nail. So Ortiz is going to have to be patient as well. Very good fight. I honestly don't know who to pick. I would probably favour Ortiz very, 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 very slightly, just because I think he would have learned from the Boachuk fight. I think those 12 rounds were amazing for him. I think hopefully he would have been like, right, we've got some stuff to do. We need to tighten up, use your skills a little bit more. Your power's always going to be there. Just don't try to, rely on it all the time. And with Madrimov, well, I don't know. It's just a great fight. I could see him having successes with that in and out style. Ortiz was getting hit quite a lot from Boachuk, a far less talented fighter. So that's one I'm really looking forward to. So let me know your thoughts about this fight in the comment section, because, I haven't been able to make a video on all these fights, but I know the Shakur Stevenson fight just got pulled. He's fighting someone else, and I hope Floyd Schofield's okay. There's pictures of him in the hospital and all these rumors going around. It's hard to know exactly what's going on, but I wish him well, and hopefully, I'm glad to hear Shakur's able to fight as well, because I was actually really looking forward to that fight as well, but obviously the fighter's safety is paramount. Then we've got Daniel Dubois versus Joseph Parker. This fight is also an excellent fight.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Is that why you are here?
I'm a New Zealand, but I'm also Samoan, and it's important to understand the heritage of where you're from. I can speak Samoan fluently, so I love the culture. I love the upbringing that we have, and it's helped me be the person I am today.
You know what the fight game is. This is war, so I'm going to be 100% ready for whatever they bring. Put him to sleep, knock him out, and move on.
I'm going to go into this fight. I'm going to be too smart, too fast. Movement's going to be on point. I'm going to be deliberate, precise. I'm going to be aggressive. That's it.
Cut it. That's enough.
I'm going to bash you
acting.
up.
Enough acting, mate.
Who's acting?
Shut up.
Who's acting?
Shut up. You
shut
acting.
your face.
You shut up.
You shut your face.
Boxing.
Now, when I first saw or started to think about this fight, I was like, Dubois definitely going to run him down. I think I couldn't see it going any other way. I was like, he's just too powerful, too tenacious. He's too in his groove right now. When the Parker, Shane McGuigan mentioned, and actually, Hatman, shout out to you if you're watching. Hatman mentioned this in his live. Is like, do those wins that Parker had flatter him? And you got to say probably they do, because Wilder shot to pieces, can't move, and Parker fought a great fight, let's be honest. You know, he knew what to do, duck under that right hand, use lateral movement, and then, you know, bum rush him when he could. I didn't watch the Zhang fight, to be honest with you. There's a few fights I haven't been watching, but like I wasn't also going to go back to that because I heard it was such a snooze fest. But you could also argue, given their age, given to where they are, you know, it's a valid point. So, but watching, thinking, and listening to Joseph Parker about where he's at, what advantages he has with his foot speed, with his intelligence, and that's the main one now, the IQ, his slipperiness. Sometimes he's got to stick to a really astute game plan, especially early. There's a notion that he's going to go out there and bombs away with Dubois. No way. That'd be suicide. I know there's a point where you have to get somebody's respect, right? Like, you can't just be running around the ring and get charged down. You have to, put a stop to that a little bit. But here's what I think really is the big difference, and this is obviously a big if, because he's got to really get past the first 4 or 5 rounds comfortably. You know, he can't really be getting hit and, well, I say not hit, hurt too badly, just to like give himself a chance. Like, he's got to be really astute defensively. I think he's got to be very cautious early on and be able to time and, use lateral movement, evade, and do what he can to not get hit with big shots. He's got a great chin as well. It's going to really help him. I've questioned his spirit in the past, like real spirit, like where he wants to really take himself. And, I've backed against him in the past, to be honest with you. And he's really come through. And I'm like really watching him. I'm like impressed. I'm like, he's looking and sounding like he wants that belt, and respect to him. And he's probably one of the nicest guys in boxing. When you watch him, you're like, that dude is a really nice guy. But, that being said, he's got a ferocious guy in front of him, Daniel Dubois, who also massively believes in himself. Now, obviously, he's overlooking, or at one point, you have to say he definitely was overlooking, because by definition, if you go into the ring and call out somebody else, you're overlooking him. For however long that was, that's definitely overlooking him. Whether he's changed his mindset and he's back on it, probably, but I think he's just expecting to go in there and blast him out. And what happens if he doesn't? And what happens when Dubois has to start thinking? Because this is why I've changed my pick, I think. I think I'm honestly going for Parker, because I think once the fight gets into a thinking fight and Dubois isn't able to get those shots off and he isn't able to pose himself, he's getting frustrated, and he's only got one real, kind of bulldoze you style, really. He's not really the quickest thinker in the game, when it comes to IQ. So the question is, you got to make him do that, and you got to make him do that by making him miss, laterally, slowing down the fight, diffusing the bomb. It's a tall ask, but given Joseph Parker's ability and his confidence and his team, I know they're massively confident. He's been buzzing with Andy Lee, and they're sounding great, and I can see him doing it, to be honest with you. I can see when Dubois, the fight doesn't, if you look at the Jarrell Miller fight too, all these fighters, they make the fight, and they're the ones he's lost are the ones he's had to really think about, or obviously there's a stylistic difference. Couldn't get past that jab from Joyce. Usyk was giving him all the problems. Just the thought of fighting, you have to, when you give Dubois more time to think, I think it plays into the opponent's hands, especially if they're smarter. And I can see Joseph Parker being sharper, counter-punching, moving, and, being able to take some of his shots, I think it's a rough fight for Parker, don't get me wrong, but I do think the more the fight goes on and the more Parker, if he's, not too hurt early on, because that will be the first 4 rounds will be crucial, I can see Parker finessing Dubois, actually, to be honest, in a really good fight. But obviously I can also see Dubois catching up to him and wiping him out. In the Joe Joyce fight, he said that he was sick, which you got somebody like Joseph Parker doesn't seem like a BSer. So you got to look at that and think, all right, that's the only time he's really been, knocked out or lost by a KO, I think. I know Dillian White had him over and kind of outmanned him, but I think you're seeing a wiser, smarter, craftier fighter now. And I'm honestly picking Joseph Parker, and I was like, that's a big U-turn, because I had Dubois all the way. And I was like, I don't know, man. I think once Dubois starts to think too much, he's not able to land those punches and he's not able to gauge the distance and he's getting hit maybe. He's got to come in and time him with something as well, Parker. Maybe a nice juicy overhand right on the way in. And just slow him down a little bit. But I think it's the mind that will win this fight, as it always does. But Parker's got the edge big time on that. So we'll see. Hopefully we get a good fight. Hopefully all these fighters this coming Saturday fight come out the ring healthy. Wish them well. And let me know your thoughts, guys. And I appreciate anyone tuning in, especially up until now. I'm going to try my best to get this Bivol better Biev. I'll do a keys to victory if I can, because I know Bivol, I've got a couple of little things that I've seen that I want to bring to you guys that might not have surfaced yet, where I've been following his strength and conditioning coach, where they've been doing certain drills, and I think, oh, that's interesting. So hopefully on Friday I'll get that done. I've got a busy week. I've got, you know, another channel that I'm doing right now. If you want to learn boxing, come on over to that. I'll leave the link up here.
So I'm going to step here. So it's like you're stepping with a jab, right? But you're bringing this right hand through. But the key to it is to get the step, and the back foot has to come through so your right hand comes through.
That's just teaching beginners, and I'm in the gym. I'm out in the I was going to say the streets, in the park, in the freezing cold weather, trying to do these tutorials, waiting for the weather to heat up. But look, that's it from me. I hope you guys are well. I'm out of here. Peace, love, boxing on the edge.
What's the difference between me and you? Me and you. Me and you. What's the difference between me and you? Me and you. Me and you. What's the difference between me and you? Me and you. Me and you.
Boxing.